In my later years, I've become not only fastidious about my investments, but I approach my relationships with an almost surgical precision and finality. Many people ask me, Charles, how is it that you're always so happy, have lived so long, and seem to have so few worries? My answer always catches them by surprise. It's because I am exceptionally skilled at one thing, purging my life. I have spent far more mental energy in my life's discerning character than I ever have reading financial statements. Once I've judged that someone is not worth my association, I don't care how wealthy, powerful, or talented they are. I immediately and completely excise them from my life. I will not do business with them. I will not share a meal with them, and I will not even breathe the same air in the same room. It sounds almost ruthless, doesn't it? But this is the first piece of advice I must give you. You have to learn this essential coldness when it comes to relationships. Your time and energy are your most precious, non-renewable assets, and you must never allow them to be devoured by these energy vampires. Most people's relationships are a complete mess because they don't know how to calculate their social balance sheet. What are social assets? They are the people who infuse you with energy, inspire you with wisdom, and bring you inner peace. When you spend time with them, your thinking becomes sharper and your emotions stabilize. These are the net assets of your life, and they continuously compound in value. And what are social liabilities? They are the people who constantly drain you, make you doubt yourself, and even pull you down into the muck. In their company, you only feel exhausted, anxious, and angry. These are the net liabilities of your life, performing subtraction or even division on your well-being. The most frightening part is that many people are buried under enormous social debt, yet are afraid to clear the books because of saving face, herd mentality, or a desperate need to fit in. You think cutting someone off is hurtful or immature. You are wrong. Cutting someone off is an act of self-preservation. It is the highest form of maturity. I want you to understand a brutal piece of mathematical logic. Opportunity cost. Every minute you waste on a person who drains you is a minute you've lost with a person who could have enriched you. Every hour you spend listening to foolish complaints is an hour you could have spent reading a great book and gaining wisdom. Life is finite. It is a zero-sum game in this regard. Saying yes to the wrong people is, by definition, saying no to the right ones. I made this very mistake in my youth. Back when I was a new lawyer, I forced myself to network with all kinds of individuals to build my practice. Some of them I disliked on instinct from the moment we met. Their values were warped, they were dishonest, or they were profoundly negative. But I put up with it, thinking it was the price of getting ahead, and the result. Those relationships brought me zero benefits and, instead, attracted nothing but endless trouble. They not only wasted my time, they nearly assimilated me, turning me into one of them. This is why I consider the following to be critically important. What I call the social proof tendency and subconscious mimicry. Humans are creatures of imitation. If you surround yourself with 5 mediocre people, you are guaranteed to become the 6th. If you surround yourself with 5 crooks, you'll eventually start lying too. This influence is insidious. You won't even notice it's happening until it's too late, and you've already been changed. That's why I established an ironclad rule for myself long ago. If I do not respect someone, I will not work with them, and I will not be their friend. This isn't about being a moral purist. It's a survival strategy. If you want to win the marathon of life, you must purify your environment. You have to be like a gardener pruning an orchard, ruthlessly cutting away the dead branches that bear no fruit and only steal nutrients from the tree. Only then can you direct your limited resources to the branches that will actually produce something wonderful. This might sound calculating, but believe me, it is the highest form of respect you can show for your own life. When you learn to cut people off and to say no, you'll find your world opens up. Your judgment will sharpen, and even your luck will seem to improve because you've finally plugged the black hole that was draining your life force. So who are these people you must cut off immediately and without hesitation? In my 99 years, I've identified 3 types of truly toxic personalities you must never tolerate. If you have even one of them in your life, your quality of life will plummet. If you have several, your life might be ruined entirely. Now, I'm going to reveal the first type, These people can seem pitiful, even eliciting your sympathy, but they are, in fact, energy vampires. The first person I absolutely cut ties with, and whom I advise you to avoid immediately, is the one who is trapped in a victim mentality. I've lived for 99 years, and if I had to summarize the wisdom of nearly a century, it would be this: self-pity is the most terrifying poison for the human spirit. You've surely met these people in their world. Nothing is ever their fault. A bad job is because of a stupid boss or scheming coworkers. An investment loss is because the market is rigged. An unhappy life is because of their parents' failures or an unsupportive spouse. In short, the entire world owes them something, and everyone is out to get them. They are forever the innocent victim, and everyone else is the villain. This person can seem so pathetic that they stir your compassion, making you want to comfort them or offer help. Don't do it. The moment you get close, you'll discover you've entered a massive energy black hole. They don't want solutions. They just want an audience, or, to be more precise, they want an emotional co-conspirator in their misery. They will pull you down with them, forcing you to rehash every painful detail until you're both drowning in their swamp of resentment. Back in the 1950s, when I was a young man, I had a friend named Arthur who was exceptionally talented. He was brilliant and well-spoken, but he had a fatal flaw. He always believed the world was against him. Every time we met, he would spend the first 30 minutes complaining about not being valued at his law firm, about his landlord raising the rent, about the weather being too hot. At first, I tried to offer him guidance and advice, but I soon realized it was pointless. For a professional victim, solving the problem is never the goal. The goal is to reaffirm their own misery. As long as they can prove how miserable they have a perfect excuse not to try, not to change, and to remain comfortably in their self-imposed state of failure. It's a kind of perverse psychological reward. He derived a twisted satisfaction from complaining. Eventually, I cut ties with him completely. Decades went by, and I watched people who started with far less talent and fewer advantages than him build prosperous lives for themselves, all through optimism and sheer grit. As for Arthur, he was still complaining about his life well into his 70s, having wasted every ounce of his talent on endless grievances. This is precisely why I say self-pity is a poison. It doesn't just worsen your present situation, it forecloses on all of your future possibilities. When you cast yourself as the victim, you surrender control over your own life. You become a leaf in the wind, blown about by circumstance, a person who cannot take control of their own destiny and never accumulate wealth, and they certainly can never find happiness. In my mental checklist of psychological tendencies, deprival superreaction tendency and self-pity tendency are closely related. When combined, they make a person paranoid and venomous. If you have someone like this in your life, even if they are a family member or a friend of many years, you must draw a firm boundary in your mind. You don't have to confront them or humiliate them. Simply add them to your mental blacklist of people to avoid, reduce your interactions, and remain silent when they begin to complain. Do not let their toxic fumes enter your system, because emotions are contagious, and so is stupidity. If you spend all your time with a crowd that believes society is unfair and that all wealthy people are inherently evil, eventually you too will start to resent wealth and success. And if that happens, you are truly finished. I've faced countless hardships in my life. I lived through the Great Depression in 1953. I was in my early 30s, divorced, bankrupt, and raising a child on my own. Then, my eldest son was diagnosed with leukemia, and I had to watch helplessly as he slowly faded away in his hospital bed. I remember walking the streets of Pasadena, sobbing uncontrollably. Did I have reason to feel sorry for myself? Did I have reason to complain about the unfairness of fate? Absolutely, but I refused. I knew that self-pity would not save my son, and it would not pay my bills. I dried my tears and told myself that no matter how terrible things were, I had to accept reality and keep moving forward. That anti-victim mindset, that resilience, is the fundamental reason I was able to recover, build wealth, and live to be 99. So please remember my advice. Never feel sorry for yourself, and never tolerate those who do. This is the first line of defense for your personal energy. Get these people out of your life, and your world will become 50% more peaceful. But next, you must face the second type, who are far more dangerous than the victims because they often appear charismatic, exceptionally competent, and might even be people you admire. The second type of person I cut out of my life without a moment's hesitation is the brilliant but morally flawed individual. This group is more dangerous than the first because you can spot the incompetence of a complainer from a mile away. But these people, they are often incredibly charming, with quick minds, silver tongues, and impressive resumes. In their chosen field, they can seem like geniuses. You find yourself drawn to them, thinking, this person is so brilliant. If I could partner with them, I could achieve anything. If you think that, you are heading for disaster. I have lived 99 years and have seen countless brilliant scoundrels. Without exception, their story ends in self-destruction, and when they go down, they take everyone who trusted them down with them. I have one principle when it comes to people. If I see extraordinary talent in someone, but also detect the slightest crack in their moral foundation, I walk away immediately. I would much rather work with a fool of average talent, but impeccable character, than a genius who is morally bankrupt. Why? Because talent is the engine, but character is the steering wheel. The more powerful the engine, the faster you crash and burn if the steering wheel is pointed at a wall, and the more damage you'll cause along the way. In the 90s, Wall Street was full of these brilliant people. They designed complex financial derivatives to package garbage and sell it as gold. They exploited loopholes to extract enormous bonuses from their companies. They looked like winners, but their victories were built on a foundation of broken trust. I once knew a highly capable fund manager who made a fortune for his clients, but he had a habit of padding his expense reports to pocket a little extra cash from the company. Someone told me, Charles, the man makes the firm tens of millions a year. Let the small stuff slide. You can't expect perfection, I said. Absolutely not. If a man will lie about a $20 cab fare, he will eventually lie about a $200 million deal. This isn't just a question of morality. It is a question of probability. A person as character is remarkably consistent. You cannot expect someone who is a cheat in small matters to suddenly become a saint when the stakes are high. If your business partner cheats a supplier to get a better deal and then comes back bragging about how clever he was, do not congratulate him. You should be terrified, because if you let it go, the next person he cheats will be you. In the world of business, trust is the most powerful form of leverage. When Walter Bishop and I do a deal, it often takes nothing more than a single phone call. We don't even need a contract, because we both know with absolute certainty that the other will never betray that trust. This has saved us a fortune in legal fees, due diligence, and negotiation time over the years. But when you work with the brilliant and morally flawed, you have to spend all your energy watching your back. You need lawyers to scrutinize every clause and accountants to watch their every move. That kind of internal friction will exhaust you and ruin your life's work. Furthermore, when brilliant people do wrong, they are masters of concealment. They use complex logic to rationalize their greed, telling you everybody does it or it's just how the game is played. They use sophisticated language to disguise filthy transactions. And if you aren't vigilant, they will brainwash you into becoming their accomplice. Therefore, my strategy with such people is zero tolerance. Do not try to change them. A brilliant person's ego makes them nearly impossible to reform. Do not try to use them for their talent. You may think you're riding a tiger, but you're more likely to end up as its meal. The moment you see a friend or partner display signs of dishonesty, faithlessness, or a willingness to do anything to win, I don't care how capable they are or what they can offer you, hit the emergency brake. Get away from them as you would get away from radioactive waste. Don't think of it as a loss. In this world, talent is rare, but it is not nearly rare enough to justify the enormous risk of a character flaw. You must seek out people who are both brilliant and honorable. Such people are exceedingly rare, but finding just one is worth more than 100 toxic geniuses. By removing these people, your business might grow a little more slowly, but its foundations will be made of granite. You will be able to sleep soundly at night, never worrying that you'll wake up to find yourself entangled in a scandal or a lawsuit. This is the second line of defense for your life's assets. Next, we must confront the third type of person. They may not complain, and they may not be malicious, but they possess a trait that, if you don't insulate yourself from it, will slowly make you dull and mediocre. The third person I cut out, and whom I advise you to avoid like the plague, is the willfully ignorant person with a closed mind. I've lived 99 years, and I've discovered there is only one true death. It is not when the heart stops beating, but when the brain stops learning. You've met these people. They effectively die at 30, even though they won't be buried until they're 80. By the time they turn 30, their worldview is set in stone. From that point on, the door to their mind is shut. They refuse to accept new information and refuse to revise old opinions. They are the proverbial man with a hammer to whom every problem looks like a nail. If you try to discuss a new business model with them, they'll say, "That's a scam. I've never heard of such a thing." If you try to explore a different point of view, they become instantly angry, as if you've personally insulted them. They mistake their stubbornness for principle and their ignorance for tradition. Spending time with people like this is a cognitive catastrophe. Human understanding must be constantly updated because the world changes so rapidly. Much of the law I learned in the 1950s is now obsolete. My investment strategies from the 1970s would be worthless today if they hadn't evolved. The reason Walter Bishop and I have been successful for so long is that we are learning machines onto legs every single day. We try to go to bed a little wiser than we were when we woke up. If we discover that an idea we held yesterday was wrong, we are overjoyed because it means we've learned something new. But the cognitively closed person hates nothing more than admitting they were wrong. To protect their fragile ego, they will distort facts, attack the truth, and even invent lies to deceive themselves. This is a classic case of what I call psychological denial. If you surround yourself with such people, you will become trapped in a massive echo chamber, endlessly repeating outdated opinions and reinforcing false biases. You'll start to believe the world is exactly as you perceive it, right up until the moment reality hits you with a brutal wake-up call. I had an old friend who was incredibly stubborn. In the 1990s, when the internet first emerged, I suggested he ought to learn about it. He scoffed, calling it a child's toy and a passing fad. Even after the internet had completely transformed the world and reshaped commerce, he still refused to use email or get information online, clinging to his obsolete way of doing business. And the result, his business dwindled year after year until he finally went bankrupt. What's worse, his closed mind made him increasingly isolated and cynical. He felt that the world had left him behind, that society had decayed. But I knew the truth. He was the one who had abandoned the world. With these people, my strategy is simple. Do not argue, just walk away. You can never wake a person who is only pretending to be asleep. If you try to use logic, they will respond with emotion. If you try to show them a new way of thinking, they'll accuse you of trying to trick them. The cost of such communication is enormous, with zero return. More dangerously, stupidity is contagious. If you spend too much time with a cognitively closed person, you will, for the sake of harmony, start to agree with them and slowly lower your own intellectual standards. Over time, your mind will grow rusty, your perspective will narrow, and you will lose your curiosity and your capacity for self-improvement. For anyone who desires success and wealth, this is a death sentence. So I urge you to examine your circle of friends. Is there someone who is always the first to shoot down your new ideas? Is there someone whose conversations, actions, and even complaints have remained unchanged for the last decade? Is there someone who flies into a rage the moment you point out a mistake? If so, quietly walk away. The friends you need are the ones who challenge you, who introduce you to books you've never read, who have open minds and embrace change. When you are with people like that, you are forced to grow alongside them, and that pressure is the most valuable fuel for your life. We have now purged the complainers, the morally corrupt, and the willfully ignorant. Your social circle might have become very small, perhaps even quiet, but that is precisely the point. Only by pulling out all the weeds can you make room to plant a real harvest. The high-quality relationships that will nourish you for a lifetime require this kind of purified soul. Now I want to talk about what comes next. How to build a new and powerful social system after you've made these difficult cuts. This will determine the trajectory of the rest of your life. By now, you have removed the complainers, the corrupt, and the closed-minded from your life. Your contact list may have been cut in half, your social calendar may be 90% empty, and you might feel a pang of loneliness. This is precisely when I congratulate you, because you have finally acquired the most important prerequisite for building a world-class social circle, space. Many people ask me, Charles, how did you meet top-tier people like Walter Bishop and William Grant? Do you have some special networking secret? My answer always disappoints them. I have no secret. I simply follow the oldest and most basic rule in the book. To get what you want, you have to deserve what you want. It may sound like a platitude, but it is a fundamental law of the universe. If you want to be friends with an honest, intelligent, and generous person, you must first become an honest, intelligent, and generous person yourself. High-quality people have a keen sense of their own kind. They can spot one another from a mile away. If you are a perpetual victim full of negative energy, you will only attract other victims. If you are a clever operator who cuts corners, you will find yourself surrounded by other cheats. This is why the first step to cleaning up your social circle is actually to clean up yourself. When you have pruned away your own worst habits and focused on improving your character and competence, the right people will naturally be drawn to you. My friendship with Walter Bishop is considered a marvel. We've worked together for over half a century and have never had a serious argument. Our relationship is so solid not because of any ironclad contract, but because we have built what I call a seamless web of trust. It's a concept I cherish. In a system of seamless trust, there is no need for suspicion or defense. You know he would handle your money exactly as he would handle his own. You know that if he gives you his word, he will move heaven and earth to keep it. This kind of trust reduces transaction costs to nearly zero. Can you imagine how efficient that is? A deal that would take others 3 months of negotiation and a 50-page contract to close, we can finalize in a 5-minute phone call. While others waste half their energy on office politics and backstabbing, we can devote all of our energy to getting the job done right. This is why a company like Berkshire Hathaway can manage hundreds of billions of dollars in assets with a headquarters staff of just a few dozen people. We only work with people we can trust. So, for your new social circle, my advice is this. Keep it extremely small and be extremely selective. You do not need 100 acquaintances. You need 3 to 5 true friends you would trust with your life. And these few people must be ones you have vetted with the utmost care. They must be optimistic, people who will help you up when you fall, not sigh from the sidelines. They must have integrity, people who will stop you when you face a moral temptation, not egg you on. They must be open-minded, people who will criticize you honestly when you are wrong, not just look the other way. Finding such people is hard. It is very hard. You might spend a decade searching just to find one, but finding even one is worth a lifetime of effort to cherish. You must invest in that relationship the way you would invest in a great company, giving your time and your sincerity, and being there for them without hesitation when they need you. Do not chase a so-called broad network of contacts. The people whose business cards you collect at cocktail parties, the people who like your posts and iMessage groups. That is not a network. That is nose in your address book. Your real network consists of the people who would still be willing to have a coffee with you if you lost everything. When you build this minimalist but high-quality social circle, you will find you have constructed a formidable moat around your life. No matter how chaotic the world becomes or what storms you face, you can always return to this small circle and find safety, wisdom, and the strength to carry on. This is the compounding effect of high-quality relationships. Their value will grow over time until they become priceless. You have now completed the purge and you understand how to rebuild. Finally, I want to talk to you about the kind of later life you will have when you possess all of this. A clear mind, an honorable character, and a few true friends. It is the most wonderful state of being I have experienced in my 99 years. When you truly follow my advice, clearing out the complainers, the corrupt, and the willfully ignorant, and associate only with a few trustworthy people, you will discover a surprising fact. You will become solitary. Your phone will stop ringing constantly. Your weekends will no longer be filled with pointless gatherings. You might even find that, at times, you want to talk to someone and can't find the right person. Many people fear this solitude. They see it as a sign of failure or being antisocial. But I am here to tell you that this solitude is a badge of honor. It is the price of admission you must pay for a life of excellence and freedom. In this noisy world, only the mediocre need to huddle together for constant warmth. The wise have always been comfortable walking alone. This solitude is not loneliness. It is a higher form of freedom because you are no longer being drained by trivial people and events. You possess a vast amount of time that is truly your own. You can use this time to read, to converse with the greatest minds in history. You can use it for deep thought, to understand the nature of business and the meaning of life. You can use it to be with your family, enjoying the deepest bonds. This solitude will nourish your soul, making you stronger and more independent. I have spent most of my life in my study. I do not need social interaction to feel a sense of purpose, because I know who I am and I know what I am doing. When you possess this kind of powerful inner core, you no longer need to seek validation from others. You will discover that true happiness comes not from a bustling crowd, but from inner tranquility. True success is not measured by how many people you know, but by how many people in your life are truly worth knowing. So, young man, young woman, do not be afraid to cut ties. Do not be afraid of solitude. Take up your scalpel and bravely excise those toxic relationships from your life. It is far better to be left standing alone and to slowly decay in a crowd of people who drain you. When you have purged your life, you will find the empty space becomes filled with wisdom, wealth, and true friendship. You will possess a life system that is clean, efficient, and full of positive energy. In this system, every relationship is an asset, every conversation adds value, and every day is a step toward becoming a better version of yourself. This is the final piece of wisdom I wish to leave you, earned over 99 years. No matter how young or wealthy you are, please remember this. Your quality of life will ultimately be determined by your ability to say no to the wrong people. Protect your energy, guard your character, and cherish your time. The rest you can leave to the power of compound interest. I hope these lessons can save you decades of wasted effort. Starting today, become fastidious about your relationships and then go and enjoy the clean and free life you have earned.